The Judgment and the Exile. The great assembly hall stretched across 3 kilometers of polished crystal, suspended in the void between 7 dying stars. Ambassador Sarah Chen stood alone at the center, her black diplomatic uniform a stark contrast against the rainbow light that filtered through the transparent walls. Around her, in perfect circular tiers, sat representatives from 412 different species that made up the Galactic Assembly. The air itself seemed to hum with tension and the weight of history about to be made. Sarah had walked these halls for 15 years, building relationships, negotiating trade agreements, and slowly earning humanity's place among the stars. Today, all of that work was about to crumble. She could feel it in the way the Zephyrian delegates avoided her gaze. How the crystalline Nethera pulsed with anxious orange light, and especially in the cold stare of High Arbiter Thaxlan, whose species had dominated galactic politics for over 3 millennia. The charges had been read an hour ago. Unauthorized genetic manipulation, violation of the sacred protocols of natural evolution, creating enhanced soldiers without assembly approval, development of prohibited consciousness transfer technology. Each accusation hit like a physical blow, not because they were false, but because they were absolutely true. Dr. Elena Vasquez sat in the human observer section, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. Her life's work was being dissected by beings who had never known the fragility of human existence. Beside her, General Marcus Rivera maintained his military composure, but Sarah could see the anger burning in his dark eyes. Captain James Wright, decorated hero of the Outer Rim conflicts, looked ready to fight his way out of the chamber with his bare hands. High Arbiter Thaxlan raised one of his 4 arms, and the chamber fell silent. His species, the Valthani, resembled giant praying mantises made of living silver. When he spoke, his words carried the authority of eons. The evidence presented by the Assembly's investigation committee is overwhelming. Humanity has violated the most sacred laws that govern civilized species. Sarah's heart pounded, but her voice remained steady. Honored Arbiter, if I may address the Assembly. She had practiced this speech 1,000 times, knowing this day would eventually come. You may speak, Thaxlan replied, though his tone suggested it was merely a formality. Sarah turned slowly, addressing the hundreds of alien faces surrounding her. Esteemed delegates, what we have done is not a crime against nature. It is the fulfillment of human nature. We are a species that has always pushed beyond our limitations. When we could not fly, we built wings. When we could not breathe underwater, we created vessels. When our lifespans were too short, we developed medicine to extend them. A ripple of movement went through the Korvaxi section. Their beetle-like forms clicked disapprovingly. Their speaker, hive mind, Zictor, broadcast its thoughts directly into everyone's minds. You seek to make yourselves superior to other species. This is the path that leads to conquest and domination. No, Sarah replied firmly, her voice carrying across the vast chamber. We seek to make ourselves capable of surviving in a universe that was not made for us. Every species here has natural advantages that we lack. The Zephyrians can manipulate gravity with their thoughts. The Nethera can live for 10,000 years. The Drakmori are born with natural armor and weapons. Humans are weak and fragile. We improved ourselves, not to dominate others, but to have a fair chance at survival. The Oquin delegate, a being of living water held together by some invisible force, spoke in a voice like ocean waves. Your Dr. Vasquez's research shows clear intent to create superhuman abilities, enhanced strength, accelerated healing, expanded consciousness. These improvements go far beyond mere survival. Dr. Elena Vasquez half rose from her seat, but General Rivera placed a restraining hand on her arm. This was not the place for scientific explanations. This was about fear, and fear was rarely rational. The sacred protocols exist for a reason, continued the Valthani, High Arbiter. 300,000 years ago, the predecessor race attempted similar enhancements. They became so powerful that they nearly destroyed this entire galaxy cluster, before vanishing into the void. We cannot permit such recklessness again. Sarah felt her last hope slipping away. We are not the predecessors. We are humans. We have a long history of using our intelligence and determination to overcome obstacles. That drive to improve and adapt is what makes us who we are. It is also what makes you dangerous. Faxlan replied coldly. The Assembly has made its decision. All delegates will now cast their votes. The voting crystals around the chamber began to glow, red for guilty, blue for innocent. Sarah watched as species after species condemned humanity. The Drakmori Empire voted first, red. The Korvaxi Collective, red. The Zephyrian Commonwealth, red. Even their oldest allies turned against them. The Centauri Federation, who had been humanity's first contact with galactic civilization, red. Only 7 blue lights appeared among the hundreds of red ones. The Terran delegation voted for themselves, naturally. 3 small, newly admitted species voted blue, probably hoping for future human support. The Mysterious Wanderer Collective voted blue for reasons no one understood. 2 abstentions came from species too alien to comprehend the concepts being discussed. 405 red votes, 7 blue votes, 2 abstentions. The verdict is clear, announced High Arbiter Thaxlon. Humanity is found guilty of violating the sacred protocols. The sentence is immediate and permanent expulsion from the Galactic Assembly, complete severance of all diplomatic relations, and quarantine within your home system. You have 72 standard hours to withdraw all human personnel and vessels from assembly space. The chamber erupted in discussion, some species seeming relieved, others appearing concerned about the harsh sentence. Sarah stood frozen for a moment. 30 years of careful diplomacy destroyed in a single afternoon. All because humanity had dared to improve itself. May I address the Assembly one final time? She asked. Faxlan nodded curtly. Sarah looked around. The chamber one last time, meeting the eyes or optical senses of beings who had been friends, allies, and trading partners. You believe you are protecting the galaxy from humanity today. You think you are preventing us from becoming a threat to the natural order. She paused, letting her words carry across the silent chamber. But you have made a fundamental error in judgment. The silence deepened. Even the background hum of the station's systems seemed to quiet. You have not protected the galaxy from humanity, Sarah continued, her voice growing stronger. You have freed humanity from the galaxy's limitations. We came here seeking partnership. We offered our knowledge freely and shared our discoveries openly. We wanted to grow alongside you, to face the universe's challenges together as equals. General Rivera smiled grimly from the observer section. He recognized that tone in the ambassador's voice. It was the same tone she had used just before completely dismantling the Outer Rim Pirate Coalition's demands 3 years ago, but you chose fear over friendship. You chose stagnation over progress. You chose to see our desire for improvement as a threat rather than an opportunity. Sarah's voice rang with quiet steel. Very well, We accept your judgment. We will leave your assembly and return to Soul System." She began walking toward the exit, her footsteps echoing in the crystal chamber. The human delegation rose as one and followed her. General Rivera, Dr. Vasquez, Captain Wright, and the 20 other humans who had dedicated their lives to building bridges between species at the chamber's great doors. Sarah turned back one final time. "But remember this day, honored delegates. Remember that when you banished humanity, you banished the one species that never accepted the word impossible. Remember that when you cast us out for daring to grow beyond our limitations, you forgot the most important lesson in galactic history." "What lesson is that?" called out the Aquan delegate, despite herself. Sarah's smile was cold as starlight. "That humans are most dangerous when they have nothing left to lose." The doors closed behind the human delegation with a sound like thunder. Behind them, the assembly chamber slowly emptied as alien representatives returned to their ships and their worlds. None of them spoke about the chill that had settled over the room after the human ambassador's final words. In 72 hours, the galaxy would be free of humanity. They had no idea what they had just unleashed. The rise of the human empire. 5 years had passed since the judgment. The Sol System bore no resemblance to the peaceful collection of worlds that had once hosted scientific research stations and modest defense platforms. Now, massive construction yards filled the space between planets, working around the clock to birth something the galaxy had never seen before. The asteroid belt hummed with constant activity as automated mining platforms extracted resources with relentless efficiency. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the Bridge of Defiance, humanity's new flagship. The woman who had once been Earth's ambassador to the galaxy now wore the dark blue uniform of the human Imperial Navy, her collar bearing the insignia of Supreme Admiral. Through the massive viewports, she could see hundreds of vessels moving in perfect formation, not the small patrol craft that had once protected Earth's trade routes, but massive battleships that dwarfed anything in the Assembly's fleets. "Status report," she commanded, her voice carrying the authority of absolute leadership. Commander Elena Rodriguez, formerly Dr. Vasquez, approached with a data tablet. The years of exile had transformed the gentle scientist into something harder, more focused. Her genetic enhancement program had succeeded beyond anyone's wildest dreams. "All production facilities are operating at maximum capacity, Admiral. The new enhancement protocols are showing remarkable results. Our latest batch of enhanced personnel demonstrates strength levels 50 times baseline human normal, reaction speeds that border on precognitive, and healing factors that can repair most injuries within hours." Admiral Chen nodded. The transformation of humanity during their exile had been nothing short of miraculous. Without the Assembly's restrictions limiting their research, human scientists had made breakthroughs that seemed impossible just years before. Dr. Rodriguez's genetic enhancement program had created soldiers who could survive in hard vacuum, pilots whose reflexes outpaced quantum computers, and engineers who could interface directly with advanced technology through neural implants. General Marcus Rivera entered the bridge, his uniform bearing the insignia of Imperial Ground Forces. "Commander, the years had been kind to him. The genetic enhancements had reversed much of his aging while adding considerable muscle mass and mental acuity. Admiral, the asteroid mining operations have produced results beyond our projections. We've discovered something extraordinary." "Explain," Chen said. "We call it hegemony crystal. It's not on any known periodic table, and its properties are ... unprecedented." Rivera activated a holographic display showing a chunk of mineral that seemed to glow with internal fire. When properly configured, it creates instantaneous quantum communication across any distance, not faster than light, instantaneous. It also enables jump drive technology that can transport our ships anywhere in the galaxy without using the assembly's gate network. The implications were staggering. The Galactic Assembly controlled interstellar travel through their network of quantum gates, charging fees and maintaining political control over who could travel where. If humanity had developed independent faster-than-light travel, they were no longer trapped in Sol System. Captain James Wright's voice came over the communication system from the Outer System Patrol. "Admiral, we have visitors. An assembly fleet has just arrived at the system boundary. 50 ships from multiple species, led by Valfani dreadnoughts. Are they inside our territory?" General Rivera asked. "No, sir. They're maintaining position just outside the heliopause, but they're broadcasting a message on all frequencies." "Put it through," Admiral Chen ordered. The main screen flickered to life, showing High Arbiter Thaxlon in his command chamber. The Valthani leader looked exactly as he had 5 years ago, his silver mantis-like form radiating arrogance and authority. "Humans of Sol System, the Galactic Assembly has determined that your isolation has been insufficient. Recent intelligence indicates you have developed prohibited technologies and enhanced your species beyond acceptable parameters. You will submit to immediate inspection and surrender all enhanced individuals for rehabilitation. You have 72 hours to comply or face military intervention." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in tense silence. "Sir," General Rivera asked quietly, "your orders?" Admiral Chen looked around at her officers. These were not the same humans who had been cast out 5 years ago. Rodriguez's hand rested casually on her sidearm, a weapon that could punch through Valfani armor like paper. Rivera's enhanced physique was clearly visible even through his uniform. Captain Wright's voice carried the confidence of someone who had never lost a battle through the viewports. The lights of 1,000 construction projects twinkled like stars, shipyards that had built vessels beyond anything in assembly space, research stations where humans had unlocked the secrets of consciousness transfer and quantum manipulation, colonies where children grew up stronger, smarter, and more capable than any previous generation of their species. "Open a channel to the assembly fleet," she commanded. High Arbiter Thaxlon reappeared on screen, his expression confident and condescending. "Admiral Chen of the Human Forces, have you decided to surrender to Assembly authority?" "I have an answer to your ultimatum," Chen replied calmly. She stood slowly, her enhanced physique evident even in the loose-fitting uniform. Behind her, the bridge crew moved with the fluid precision of enhanced humans interfacing directly with their ship's systems. "Humanity chooses neither surrender nor compliance," she continued. "We choose something the Assembly has forgotten exists. Independence." The Valthani's compound eyes widened slightly. "You would fight the entire Assembly, 50 ships against your handful of outdated vessels." Admiral Chen smiled, and there was something in that expression that made the alien commander take an involuntary step backward. "You might want to scan the space around your fleet first." Confusion crossed Thaxlon's features. A moment later, alarms began blaring throughout his ship's bridge. "What is this?" he demanded. Commander Rodriguez's voice came over the intercom. "Admiral, our stealth fleet is in position. 200 vessels surrounding their formation. They never detected our approach. The technology that made this possible was another breakthrough of humanity's exile years. Ships that could bend light around themselves, becoming effectively invisible to all known sensors. Vessels that moved through space like ghosts, appearing and disappearing at will. Impossible, Thaxlon hissed. No species has developed effective stealth technology. No assembly species, Chen corrected. But then, we're not part of your assembly anymore, are we? Captain Wright's voice came over the communication system. Admiral, our enhanced pilot's report ready for engagement. Quantum jump drives charged and locked onto targets. Admiral Chen looked directly into Thaxlon's eyes. High Arbiter, you came here expecting to find the same weak, dependent humans you cast out 5 years ago. You expected us to be grateful for any scraps of mercy you might offer. She paused, letting the weight of her words sink in. But you taught us valuable lessons when you banished us. You taught us that might makes right when you threatened us with military action. You taught us that only the strong survive when you cast us out for daring to improve ourselves. You taught us that cooperation is for equals, and you never considered us your equals. The transmission flickered as quantum interference from human ships began affecting assembly communications. Very well, Chen continued. We learned those lessons perfectly. We have spent 5 years becoming everything you feared we might become. We have enhanced our bodies, expanded our minds, and built technology that makes your assembly ships look like antiques. General Rivera stepped forward, his enhanced form radiating controlled power. Admiral, the outer colonies are reporting assembly reconnaissance probes along their borders. It appears this was not just a diplomatic mission. Of course not, Chen replied. They came here to crush us before we became too strong. Unfortunately for them, they arrived about 3 years too late. She turned back to the screen where Thaxlon was frantically consulting with his tactical officers. High Arbiter, you have exactly 1 hour to withdraw your fleet from Sol System. After that, we will consider your presence an act of war. You cannot threaten the assembly, Thaxlon snarled. We represent 400 worlds, and we represent humanity, Chen replied simply. We represent every human who was told they were too weak, too short-lived, too fragile to matter in galactic affairs. We represent the species you cast out for refusing to accept limitations. She gestured toward the viewports where the lights of human civilization blazed with unprecedented intensity. Look around you, High Arbiter. Do you see a species that accepts limitations? The communication ended abruptly as human ships began powering their weapon systems. On screens throughout the Sol System, humans watched as their leader stood up. To the powers that had once seemed omnipotent, Admiral Chen turned to her bridge crew. Begin Phase 2 of the Revelation Protocol. It's time the galaxy learned what humanity has truly become. Commander Rodriguez activated the quantum communication array, sending a message that would reach every inhabited world in the galaxy simultaneously. Broadcasting on all frequencies, Admiral, every species will receive this transmission. Sarah Chen looked out at the stars one final time as Earth's ambassador. When she spoke again, it would be as the first empress of the human stellar empire. Citizens of the galaxy, her voice carried across space to billions of beings on thousands of worlds. 5 years ago, your leaders cast humanity out of galactic civilization. They believed we were too dangerous to exist among you. She paused, letting the full implications settle across the galaxy. They were right.